Hello, future Boilermakers, and welcome to our live Q&A broadcast for Construction Management Technology at Purdue University. To all the students watching who've been admitted to one of our majors here in Polytechnic at Purdue, congratulations and a very warm welcome to you all. My name is Rebecca Yoder, Associate Director of Recruitment and Diversity here at Purdue Polytechnic. Today we have 4 professors, 2 staff members will be here as panelists tonight, and they will introduce themselves in a minute. But first, some important information. You can submit questions via YouTube chat window by signing into Google account and typing them in. Our technical director, John O'Malley, and I will be monitoring the chat, and we'll be sure to ask the panelists your questions. If you don't get to your question tonight, please feel free to send up a follow-up email to techrecruit@purdue.edu, and we'll respond to it later on. Okay, it's time to ask our panelists to introduce themselves with your name, your position in the college, and a little about the courses you teach at our facility. Hi, Luciana. Let's start with you.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for having me in this panel. So my name is Luciana Debs, and I'm an assistant professor with the School of Construction Management Technology. I teach the construction capstone, our first capstone, and I also teach design and construction integration courses, so our studio courses.
Thank you. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening. This is Bryan Hubbard. I'm a professor in our School of Construction Management Technology. I've been at Purdue 20 years, and I am a Boilermaker. I teach a lot of different courses. Right now, I'm teaching a lot with estimating. I teach in our Design and Construction Integration program, and I teach some industrial construction in our concentrations.
By the way, congratulations on your Murphy Award. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you. Well, it was quite a surprise. I came to class on Monday morning, and Boilermaker Pete showed up and playing the Purdue fight song. So it was a great morning, and I'm really appreciative of all the students that supported me, and of course the faculty and staff of our Polytechnic Institute here.
That's wonderful. And just so the viewers know, that's the highest undergraduate award and honor in teaching. So it's a big deal. Hi, Mark.
Hey, good evening, Rebecca. Thanks for joining us, everyone. My name is Mark Zimpfer. I'm an associate professor of practice at the School of Construction Management Technology. I teach a little bit of everything. So I touch on our freshman courses, kind of our introduction to construction, our materials and methods course. I teach the residential concentrations, and I have the pleasure of teaching our Capstone 2, which is the second half of our capstone project for our seniors, which is also the last semester in our program. Happy to answer any questions and looking forward to tonight. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Clark, hello to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cory. I'm currently in computer graphics technology, but I am moving over into construction management because the area that I focus in is actually more construction related than graphics. I do all of the building information modeling classes, which means I am sort of like Mark, and I do a little bit of everything. I start off with the residential, move into commercial modeling, and then do a lot of mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, structural modeling, and then we do something called Navisworks, which gets all of those disciplines integrated into one big model so that you can figure out if it's built correctly or not.
That's really exciting. That sounds fun. Danielle is here too. Hi, Danielle.
Hello, I am Danielle Gilbert. I am one of the academic advisors here in the School of Construction Management.
Thank you. We have 2 students with us right now, and I'll let you introduce yourselves. Would you please tell us your name, where you're from, and what your major is? Hi, Kassidy. We'll start with you.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you. I am Kassidy Bosler. I am from Fishers, Indiana, and I am a senior in the construction management program.
Last but not least, good evening, Paige.
Hi, everyone. My name is Paige Reitz, and I'm from Cherville, Indiana, and I'm majoring in design and construction integration and minoring in construction graphics technology.
Awesome. Okay, let's get started by talking about our three majors in the School of Construction Management Technology. We have the Construction Management Technology major itself, plus a design and construction integration, and finally, building information modeling. Brian, the first question's for you. How do you describe the construction management technology major itself? What makes it so popular with both students and their future employers?
I think, you're going to hear a lot tonight about, our great faculty, our staff that support our students, the incredible facilities that we're now in with the Gateway building. But if I was to put all of that into one big picture to describe our degree, I would really say industry focus. We're over 50 years now, and it was really started from the roots of industry wanting to support this program, and it's something that we continue today to stay focused with what the industry needs. And so I think you will find that from the freshman to the senior year that we work very hard to bring in industry to do those things that industry wants. And I think that's what makes it popular with the students because, at the end of this, they want to get jobs and good jobs in the industry. And so that's what we focus on. And of course, the industry loves it because they are, construction ready, as we say. They are ready to go out into the field and get their boots muddy and really start to build something that they'll be proud of in the future. So, like I said, you're going to hear a lot tonight, but I think industry focus is a big thing that I see in this program.
Thank you. Mark, construction management technology is much more than just learning skills involved with a variety of construction trades. Students gain experience in many such skills, and that's important. But why is it called construction management technology and not just construction technology?
Great question, Rebecca. If we were just construction technology, right, we teach about materials and methods. But what I like to tell students and our faculty tell students, building the building or the bridge or the road is actually the easy part, right? Because we're talking about giant erector sets or Lego sets. If you hire good people, the building is going to build itself. What our job is as construction management professionals is to work with all the people involved in the process. So we call them stakeholders. We have the owners, we have the trade contractors, the vendors, the inspectors, the local jurisdiction, the utility companies, the list goes on. And that's our job as the construction management professional, is to get all those people organized, moving in the same direction to complete a successful project. So we look at the management side of it. So not just the technical skills, which Purdue has had a great reputation of creating technically sound students. With our curriculum change, we've really looked at trying to complete or have a complete professional, which means you have to have people skills as well. And that's where we look at the management side of things. Lots of team projects, lots of presentations, really working on management skills, even starting at the freshman level in the 150 course, where the students act as the PM or the project manager for the day and manage other students to get tasks done. This is what they're going to do in industry, so we try to get them ready for that from day one.
Fantastic. Kassidy, I'd like you to talk about your interests back in high school. How did those interests lead you into majoring in construction management technology?
Yeah, so some of my interests in high school included the classes that offered hands-on learning. I was also interested in Habitat for Humanity and cheerleading. So these interests led me to CM due to the hands-on experiences within our program that Mark had talked about. Learning the theory as well as the application increased my interest in my schoolwork significantly. I also loved being in a team setting, which is perfect in construction management. Having a team to collaborate with is important to me to continue my growth and understanding of different perspectives.
Wow, that's awesome. Luciana, the design and construction integration major was new several years ago, and it's been growing steadily. How is design and construction integration different from the major that Brian, Kassidy, and Kassidy were talking about?
Sure. So this major also rose from a need that we saw in industry. So it complements construction management really well because it provides more of a bridge between designers and contractors. So there are a lot of classes that overlap between the design construction integration major and the construction management major. However, some of the construction management courses that are more like job site based, like job site supervision, logistics, we took those out and put design studios, so they're experiencing more of what is design, and that will provide them with a better, will be better equipped to discuss more in-depth design topics. It's not meant for them to be designers, but to assist the contractor and the owners a lot better.
Thank you so much. Paige, you're majoring in design and construction integration. I asked Cassie about her interest in high school, so I'd like to ask you the same thing. How does your interest lead you to this major?
Yeah, so in high school, I took a lot of hands-on art classes with different mediums, such as like ceramics, 2D art, 3D art, and graphic design. I feel like those classes all led me to DCI. And ever since then, I always find myself drawing up floor plans and even doing a little bit of interior design. And similar to Kassidy, I also like working in a team, but also being by myself a little bit in the design side. I played softball for about 14 years, so I get that team aspect as well.
Thank you. Clark, the building information modeling major was also added several years ago. Am I correct in saying that that major has a very strong emphasis on computer graphics for construction industry? How do you describe the major to people who aren't familiar with that?
Unmute myself first. So I would say it's a combination of what Luciana had to say, what Brian had to say, and what Mark had to say. It literally takes all certain aspects of each one of them, and it's very visual oriented. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen a little bit real quick, and being very visual. Hopefully, you guys can see that. Is it viewable? All right. So this is a combination of every aspect of the construction management technology, as Brian said, and what Mark had to integrate in there, as well as the design side. So we have a unique situation where students are interested in the graphic side of construction, but they're also interested in building the structure and making sure things are put together accordingly. So you'll notice that in the graphic, there is every aspect of the discipline. We have structural, we have all the MEP in there as well, the architectural, the foundation. It is an integration of each area a little bit. So that's why it used to be graphic related, because we dealt mostly with architects and designers. And now a few, probably 10 or 15 years ago, the students had trouble getting jobs with those industries. So the construction industry started picking up modeling as a way of managing projects. So our shift back then went from actually doing renderings to actual models to help the construction industry. And that's why it has evolved the way it has. And now that's why we're merging or transferring over into the construction management department, because the students need a lot more, as Brian and Mark said, materials and methods, as well as graphic knowledge in order to help manage the project using the model. The nice part is they get both job site, experience, as well as in the office experience. So they're integrating a lot of technologies into one communication for everybody to view, basically.
Wow, this is so fascinating and really exciting changes in industry. Danielle, what is the plan of study like for these three majors? Are there similar courses during the first year, but different in subsequent years? How soon do students get involved in this hands-on learning?
So construction management and design and construction integration are almost identical in their freshman year. And then they start to deviate a little bit after that. The construction students keep taking more construction classes, and the design and construction integration students do a little bit more design in some of the semesters. Building information modeling is more computer based, but we'll have similar gen eds and construction method classes. They're all going to require calculus. They're all going to require a speech, a writing class. I mean, a lot of the gen ed types of classes are going to be the same. The plans of study really become tailored to each individual student as they start to declare a minor or a concentration or something like that. And the students will work with their academic advisors to make sure everybody in the end is going to have 120 credits toward their degree, but how they get there is going to be completely different student to student. And like I said, the academic advisors help with that. The classes are hands-on right from the beginning, so that's really nice. We have a lot of lab-based classes, so students get to learn in a lecture and then apply what they learn in a lab. So it's a lot of learn by doing in our classes.
Fantastic. And this question's for you too. So there are specializations within the study of construction management technology. Can you speak about those for a little bit? And when do students declare that that's what they want to do?
So students will actually have an option to choose a concentration, but they don't have to. That'll probably come around their junior year. So it might be, they might have an internship, and that might help them decide industrial is really what I like, or healthcare is really what I like. But students also can just decide to dabble and take one class in a residential area and one class in a mechanical class. And every student is going to have a CM selective, or actually they'll have two. And so the students can decide to use those to work toward a concentration, or like I said, they can dabble and try out different things as well.
Fantastic. Kassidy, have you declared a specialization?
I have. I am in healthcare construction, so that concentrates mainly on the construction of, say, hospitals or Medicare centers, and really dives deeply into what those all entail.
What made you choose that?
From my past internships, I was very interested in it, and it came to be one thing that I kept learning more and more about. So I thought it would be good to refresh my skills and also get more knowledge based on the construction that is forever evolving in our market. So that was a really good concentration.
That's awesome. It's exciting that you had an internship, and I know construction management, that's part of the degree, but where was one of your internships?
One of them was Meyer Nasium, which they are based out of Fishers, Indiana. They do just about everything except for residential.
Fantastic. Before we
Rebecca?
continue, oh, I'm sorry.
Could I add a little bit to the concentration question?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. I teach the residential concentration, and we're changing how that program works to allow our students some more flexibility in the future. That way, if they want to take more than one concentration, they'll be able to do that. And we let the students know this is not necessarily what you're going to be doing for your career. For some students, it is, right? They hone in and they say, hey, I love this part of the industry. I want to learn as much as possible. For other students, they just want to get as much exposure to the overall industry as possible. I always go back to a student from 2 years ago, year and a half ago, Dalton Southard, who was the president of the National Association of Home Builders student chapter at Purdue. I believe he did a healthcare concentration. He got a CM or construction management degree, and he ended up working for, he's with Helix Electric in California right now. So that's the MEP, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So Dalton, he opened himself up to every possible experience that we could give him. And I just made him a little more well-rounded, right? So there's a path for everybody. If you find a passion, great, stay with that passion. If you want to have as many experiences as possible, that's available to you as well.
That's wonderful. So before we continue talking about academic details of our majors, let's take a minute to talk about the brand new state-of-the-art building that's now home to the School of Construction Management Technology, Dudley and Lambertus Halls. One building, two names. It was known before as the Gateway Complex and it opened to students in January of 2023. Mark, Dudley and Lambertus Halls is now home to all faculty and staff offices in our school, plus several state-of-the-art laboratories. Would you please tell us about the new labs that students are using when they come to Purdue?
Yeah, absolutely. What a treat to be in a new building. It's if I'm not mistaken, it's one of Purdue's most expensive buildings ever. About 255,000 square feet, around 140, 150 million dollars. It is gorgeous. So, but beyond being pretty, it's functional, right? This is a learning space. Lots of labs between the two different wings of the building. Purdue was fortunate enough to have the first indoor construction lab in the entire country in our old building, Conoy Hall. So I was trying to think of a comparison, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but if we were in the Budget Inn in our old lab, we are now in the Ritz-Carlton in our new lab. It is almost 5 times the size. We have the ability to build 6 tiny houses at the same time. We can leave 4 of those tiny houses up, which is important. I'll explain that in a minute. And then we can build a 2-story steel structure in the lab as well, using the latest crane technology. And our students learn all of this, right? It's important to learn crane signals and crane safety and rigging safety and how a steel structure is built. But I said it was important to be able to leave the structures up. In our old lab, we were space constrained, so we had to tear down the buildings right after we built them and recycle and reuse the material. In our new building, our new lab space, we can leave the structures up, which allows the students to then kind of see the next stage of each building. So if we would frame up a building, say for a wood structure, now we can install that mechanical, electrical, and plumbing into the building. We can do air sealing, heat gun testing, blower door testing, and we can show to the students, hey, this is why it's important, right? When we build a sound structure and you build it correctly, it's going to use less energy in the future. And now we have that capability. We have an amazing surveying lab, an estimating lab, a scheduling lab, and we have the flexibility in these labs to make the space smaller or make the space larger. It's really a massive benefit to our program, and it's taken us to the next step. We've been fortunate to have other schools across the country visit our new space, and they now said they're all playing catch up to Purdue. So, hats off to Purdue for giving us a top-notch space, and we're so excited to grow into that space and see what the future brings.
That's right. Go Boilers. Danielle, future students always ask about computer recommendations. Would you please talk a little about the computers and software students use when they're on campus in our 3 majors? Plus, what you would recommend if students want to get a laptop or a desktop of their own. I'll ask you to address both construction management and design and construction integration.
So I would definitely recommend PC over Mac. I know some Mac lovers, it breaks their heart to hear that, but Mac is just not super compatible with systems that they'll be using at Purdue. Though, as an advisor, I do get this question a lot, and I always go to my colleague, Cory, and ask for his opinion, because the graphics, I feel like, is the main, you need a computer that can handle that. And if it can handle what they need to do for their graphics, it can handle everything else. So I'm going to hand it off to Clark to let him talk about that.
All right. Thank you, Danielle. I know the parents are going to hate me for this one, but a really good gaming computer is probably what you will need for any kind of building information modeling. It needs a high speed processor. It needs an amazing graphics card, and it needs tons of RAM. everything else is incidental. It doesn't really matter. In addition to that, Danielle, you probably want to talk to them a little bit more about getting an iPad, because iPads are used in the field, whereas the PC is used in the office. So they're going to have to be so tech savvy to integrate both PC and Mac that that's the way that the industry communicates. So they're going to have to be good at everything, pretty much.
Okay. So, Mark, do students in construction management technology majors participate in any senior capstone projects? What are those projects like for them?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a 2-semester senior capstone, so it's your full senior year. So the first semester is around a RFP, or request for proposal. So the students create teams, and we operate in teams our whole curriculum, but they're in a team for the senior capstone. They're given a piece of land and some project parameters, and they are a team acting like a construction company, right? They're bidding, they're putting a bid together for the project. So everything from company executive backgrounds to the safety plan, the logistics plan, the schedule, the estimate. They work on the design of the building, and then at the end of the semester, after they've worked on this, they will pitch their project to industry judges. And it's like going in front of a customer, or an owner, as we call them in construction language. And they're going to go pitch their project to the owner to see if they can win the bid. So that's kind of the first semester. The second semester, and we do this a lot through our curriculum, the first semester in a given year is called pre-con or pre-construction. The second semester of that year is more about the construction side of what they just learned in the pre-construction. So in the capstone, that second semester, now their team is running the project, and they are in the ground, so to speak, and they're working through building the project. Now we're doing this on paper, but like all construction, right, we build a high-tech product in an uncontrolled environment. So we want to throw challenges at them. And this is everything from challenges within their team, challenges coming from weather events, challenges coming from the owner request, and how is the team going to respond to those challenges, right? Because that's what we have to do in the field. We say in construction, our cell phone doesn't ring when things are going great, right? Nobody ever calls you up and says, "Hey, Kassidy, I just wanted to let you know everything's going awesome today. I'll talk to you later." That doesn't happen. They call Kassidy, right, and say, "We have a problem. Are you available?" And it's up to the construction manager to solve that problem, or bring the right people into the room to solve that problem. So that's the second half of their senior capstone. We also try to throw some what we call skills days in. We've got a few of those coming up, and Kassidy will have those in class soon. Just little things that we feel like, hey, we didn't spend or didn't have necessarily the time to touch on this topic. So for instance, a couple of weeks ago, we had executive construction, one of our partners with Purdue, come down to class and spend the senior capstone class time talking about helicopter picks and helicopter picks in an urban environment. So executive construction works in downtown Chicago. So, lifting heavy technical pieces of equipment by a helicopter in Chicago, a very, very difficult project. I'm not an expert in that. Brian's not an expert in that. So let's bring somebody into class who is an expert. And they were showing us video from just a couple of days prior to them being in class of doing a helicopter pick. So we try to make sure, what else do we need to hit on during that last semester before we kind of say, hey, it's time to go ride the bike. What else can we help you do to prepare for your career? And Kassidy will attest, in that class, I try to ask them, what else do you need to know? What else do you feel like you're missing that we may be able to add in this last semester before you go start your career?
That is awesome. Wow. Wow, I'm so impressed. Luciana, can you speak to capstone projects or real world experiences required for design and construction integration for our students?
Sure. It's interesting that you ask because our capstones between construction management and DCI are shared. So students are in the same first and second capstone. I would say probably DCI students will have a little bit more on the design side collaboration. In fact, this is an amazing class. We get to collaborate even with my colleague, Clark, and his BIM courses. So it's really a collaborative multi-course experience where they get to manage collaboration. Additional real-world experiences for DCI, I would say, is probably our 2 studios. So they have one in the sophomore level and one in the junior level where they get to design. The first one is more on the residential side, so they design usually to each other. Sometimes we kind of change the prompt as well, but they do have a client that they have to work and they have real expectations. They not only design, but they also price that so they can see the implications of the design for the pricing. And we start to think about energy and just high efficiency. On their second studio on the sophomore level, they do a similar process, but a more complex project. And we really try to get more on the high efficiency side of things, specifically on the energy side. They have financing. They really delve deep into the implications of the design for the construction, maintenance, and operations of buildings.
That's wonderful. And Clark, I'm going to give you the same question. How do students in building information modeling gain real world experience during their time at Purdue?
All right. Well, I'm going to share again. Sorry. Very visual. My students actually have a couple of different classes where in this 400 level, basically the first one is a partnered project where they model everything about the building. It is a cloud-based management. They use what's called BIM 360, which is a standard in industry. And from that, they get a set of plans that were of a building that was built somewhere in either the surrounding Midwest. But basically, it's got just about everything, and they're not a real good set of prints. So I tell my students they end up having to model it better to create a more informative construction document set and model. So then they move on. That's just a group project of 2. Well, their senior capstone, they end up getting into a group of 10 to 15, and they end up picking a building on campus to model. I have connections with the architectural department here and documents, historical documents. What you see is the original Hevelin Hall that burned back in, I don't know, 18 something. But it was actually in service for 7 days and then it burned to the ground. So the original bell tower you can see is in the front there, was the only thing that survived. So they kept it in storage and then rebuilt the bell tower. But what the students end up doing, if I can switch, there we go. They do interior renderings of what it would have looked like. This is what it actually looked like exterior wise. It was the engineering building back then. So they had all different components. One of the labs was for, believe it or not, steam engine breakdown. And then there are other parts. The main part here was mostly classroom setting for theory based, but the students got to do quite a bit from this. They ended up rendering how it would have looked in the original campus and even did a snow scene for this individual project. But for the most part, they have an integration, an introduction to every aspect and discipline in construction. They use the group setting like they would in industry. They have to communicate extremely well with each other. They have to know each other's strengths and weaknesses so that they can benefit the group in order to get the project done. believe it or not, every building that they have done, and I can show you several if you want. We have Mackey Arena here somewhere. There's Mackey. Oops, I just passed it. They ended up doing this as well. They had 10 weeks to get the entire model done of every discipline. And then after that, after spring break, they end up doing a coordination model in what's called Navisworks. And then they present to industry professionals who evaluate what they have done as a group, not so much as whether it's accurate, because I look to see that it's accurate, but the industry wants to know how they work together group wise, as well as on the cloud, in order to get the project completed in time. So it's very industry oriented, so that they get what it would have been like in the industry. I collaborate with multiple companies in industry as their daily process. So I try to emulate as much as possible what they would encounter if they were in a real job scenario.
That is fantastic. I appreciate the images, and I'm sure that our viewers do as well. It really touches on what you do in your classes, and we can see it. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Brian, would you please tell us a little bit about the School of Construction Management Technology partnership with industry, and how having active partnership with companies is beneficial to our students?
So, I started off with talking about the industry, and you've heard some examples, but what I'd really like to do is just walk this, what a student sees here from the industry connection from their freshman all the way to the senior year. When a freshman first gets here, they'll be taking CM 100. And one of the things they'll do in the first couple of weeks, about mid-September, was they'll get to come to our Construction Advisory Council meeting. And that is about 80 companies who financially support our program. And they have a gift for the students. They give them their personal protection equipment. So they give them hard hats, safety vests, glasses, everything they need to be in this construction industry. And there's just a wonderful meet and greet time to start meeting. So you won't be here more than 6 weeks that you'll be meeting industry people. Then will come the career fair right after that. Now, to prep you for the career fair, in these courses, we work with you with your resume. And then we also have something called a mock career fair, which is some companies come in and help you practice to go to the actual career fair. So we'll have 7 or 8 companies come in, you practice with them, and then on Friday afternoon on a beautiful fall day, you'll have about 180 plus companies to talk with and to start talking about careers in construction, and potentially very easily, typically, land a position for your first summer after your freshman year. Now, the industry connections and partnerships don't stop there. As Mark mentioned, we're in the, we bring industry into the classroom. And one thing we haven't talked about tonight is our student organizations. We have student organizations that represent most every facet of the construction industry, whether it be specialized like residential or mechanical or electrical construction, to just general contractor like the Associated General Contractors. It's really kind of an alphabet soup of acronyms of all the different student organizations we have. And our industry supports those student organizations. Most of them have opportunities to go to national conventions and to do competitions at a national level with other schools. And so we're constantly sending students out all across the country to compete in these different competitions, and all funded by the industry support and industry partnerships we have. Then, that kind of takes you through your sophomore and junior year. You're still going to career fairs, you're still meeting with industry. And then that final year, when you're ready to go out into the workforce, you've got these large career fairs. And when I say we have 180 companies, realize we'll only have, per class, maybe 100 students that are looking for a final job. And so the ratio is pretty good. We have most of our students get a couple offers, and we have 100% placement rate. And people want a job, there's a job available out there for them. So I know we have many other industry connections, so I'll call on others, but I think it really starts when you first step on campus to after you graduate and start your first job. It's connected the entire time.
Thank you. That's fantastic. 100% placement is amazing. I'm going to go over to Paige and ask her what kind of organizations that she's involved in.
Yeah, so I'm in Wickham, which stands for Women in Construction Management. We often do like resume builders with different companies, and we also do socials with each other. And this is just a really great group to be involved in, especially as a woman in construction. Just to have people that you know that you can go to at any time is really great. And I'm also in Charge, which stands for Changing Health Attitudes and Actions to Recreate Girls. It's a women workout group, and we try different workouts each week. So I think it's really important to be involved in like one organization in your major, and then one that is also like in a hobby or interest that you have.
That's awesome. Kassidy, what are you involved in?
I am also involved in Women in Construction Management, as well as our Honor Society, Sigma Lambda Chi, and then a sorority on campus. As Paige said, I think it's important to have both spectrums of those that are really interested in everything that you are, as well as those that have similar interests, but also you can go and decompress at the end of the day with.
That's awesome. So you both are obviously women in the field of construction management. How's that been for you for the past couple of years, or as a freshman in a field that's mostly men?
I've found it to be very opposite of what I expected. I expected it to be very difficult and me having to prove myself constantly, but I can tell you that that has changed significantly just over the past few years. And it is amazing to see everyone is very accepting and respectful, and they understand that it is based on knowledge and skills rather than your gender.
That's awesome. Kassidy, how about you? Sorry, Paige. Woo!
That's okay. I also agree. I was very surprised that a lot of the students are very accepting, and a lot of us are new to this industry, and this is a whole new experience for a lot of us. So we're kind of all just in the same boat. And even if somebody does have more experience, they're very willing to help me. And as well as a lot of the staff, they're all very hands-on and willing to help as well.
That's awesome. So why do you think girls in grade school and then in high school should consider this and consider a STEM field? And we'll continue with Paige here.
Yeah, I don't think girls should be discouraged from coming into an all-male field. It can be kind of scary at first, but if you are very set on doing something, you should definitely chase your dreams. Don't get too discouraged just because it's an all-male field. We need more women in construction.
Fantastic. Kassidy, what advice do you have for high school girls wanting to go into construction management?
As Paige said, if you are passionate, stick with it. You can learn along the way. It doesn't matter what knowledge you had previously. It just means to be like a sponge and soak up as much as you can and see as much as you can. And I feel that in our program, we definitely get to see everything and anything under the sun. As Mark said, even if we just ask, they usually bring in someone or take us to a job site and show us what we are missing in our field.
That's awesome. You guys, we talked a little bit about organizations that you're involved in, and I know that you study a lot and that you're in internships and then you're in the field. How do you balance enjoying your college life and student life with working hard and these organizations? And I'll start with Kassidy.
So as kids, we're always told, get your work done, then go play. So I feel like I kind of took that in college as get all your studies done, get all your homework done, then go have your fun. But I also took it in with you need to do something with you almost every day, just so you avoid burnout, which has been very, very helpful, where I get my studies done, I feel accomplished, and then I get to go decompress as well as have fun and get that full college experience, if you will.
All right, thank you. Paige?
I feel the same way as Kassidy, and also in the construction management technology programs, I feel like we have a lot of TAs on hand at all times that will be willing to help you with any of your schoolwork or coursework if you ever have any troubles.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. It's really important for people to know their support at Purdue Polytechnic and within your major. Danielle, are students in any of the 3 majors able to do like a double major or a minor or some kind of certificate that complements their majors? And how would they complete those? How easy is that?
So that kind of goes back to me saying that we tailor basically every student with an individual plan of study. And I know I'm Paige's advisor, so she has her own individual plan of study that I share with her. And it's changing semester to semester. It's changing because their plans change, their goals change. They may learn about something new that they didn't learn about before. So yes, the short answer is yes. They can minor, they can double major, they can get certificates. It's just a matter of planning accordingly and knowing as early on as you can that it's something you want to do, because with various options, there is overlap. There are some popular minors that have a lot of overlap with degree requirements. So if we plan accordingly, we can overlap as much as we can before having to start getting into the free electives, before we have to start getting into extra classes. Liberal arts has a degree plus program, and I have a couple of students involved in that where, for instance, I have a student who's doing that with Spanish. So he's getting his construction management degree, but he's also getting a Spanish degree. And that is purely by taking the Spanish classes. He doesn't have to take any of the gen ed classes through liberal arts. He's taking our gen ed classes. And I have a young lady doing that with law and society as well. I do have a young lady who is double majoring between design and construction integration and construction management. So that can be done as well. And the entrepreneurship certificate is extremely popular with our students. And again, if planned accordingly, can completely overlap with the construction management major anyway. So the key is work with your advisor, and we'll help you determine how it can be done, if it can be done. If there are prerequisites that we don't know about, your advisor will be very helpful in helping you determine all of that.
Thank you so much. There are a lot of opportunities to advance yourself at Purdue and to make yourself very marketable. That's super exciting. I would like to ask each of our professors about internship opportunities for our students, and then some possible career paths when they graduate. So we'll start with Mark. Are your students required to take internships in construction management technology?
Yeah, part of our degree requirement is a 800-hour minimum for internships. And I think some people think 800 hours, that's a lot, but the students can get it knocked out pretty quick. And I think what Danielle, what she said earlier about talk to your advisor, because you can do, minors and dual degrees and certificates, and you can still do a study abroad, like a Maymester program. You can still do all this. There's so many opportunities. It's amazing. So the internships definitely is part of our plan of study. There's going to be plenty of opportunities to get those internship hours. We're even having some of our incoming freshmen do an internship before they show up as a freshman. So that summer between their senior year, they've graduated, and before they come to Purdue's campus as a first-year student, we have companies that are looking for interns, and they're looking for young interns, right? They want to introduce you to the industry. So that does two things. It kind of starts you on the path of getting your internship hours, but when you show up in the fall, you already have some terminology down. You've already been exposed to the industry. You can really hit the ground running. So we have a tremendous amount of opportunities through our our industry partners.
Thank you so much. Again, focusing on how it's a requirement, but your professors, your faculty, your advisors make sure that you get it done. So that's fantastic. Kassidy, we talked about one internship you had. Can you tell us about another one?
Yeah, so my first summer that I talked about was boots on the ground. So I was in field, I was doing in-wall inspections, I was attending foreman meetings, that type of thing, which was really great because I was seeing the process as it was being done. And then the second summer, I was in the office, kind of learning the back end of the side. So I learned about estimating, pre-con, accounting. I was doing change orders, contracts, submittals, that type of thing, left to goes, LTG reports. So it was really great to get the in-field experience as well as the back end, which I preferred because in construction management, there is a multitude of pathways that you can take. And those were just two that I talked about, but I found that through my internship, I would rather be on the project management side rather than the superintendent side.
Fantastic. Brian, what are some possible jobs that construction management technology graduates get after they graduate?
That's a very large question. Really, if you can dream it, we can you can get it built. So I think first of all, to talk about something we talk about in the industry is a term we call the built environment. And that encompasses essentially everything where we live, where we work, where we shop, how we get from place to place. It is really all the infrastructure that supports our daily lives. And really, if you think of that in the holistic sense, we can build anything there, from residential homes to multifamily homes to commercial buildings, whether they be 2 to 3 story or high rises in a big urban environment. We call a lot of that the vertical construction. And then we think about all the transportation needs, the roads, the rail, the airport systems. Everything that moves us around is more horizontal construction, or, our transportation system that we build. And then we need the things to operate our daily lives. We need the infrastructure. So we need power systems. I've got a lot of students building solar now and wind because of the next generation of energy systems. And then we've got water, wastewater systems. All of those things encompass yet another piece that we don't often think about, but it affects our daily lives. So really, any of those positions, and we pride ourselves on covering all of those aspects. I think our courses, and especially even with some of our new concentrations, I don't think we've left any stone unturned that we can't have a student go into an area where they'd really like to work. So lots of opportunities.
That is fantastic. Luciana, how about design and construction integration majors? Can you touch on some internship opportunities and some jobs after graduation?
Sure. There is a lot of overlap between construction management and DCI, but I would say we do have, for example, some industry professionals that come to us more from the owner's representative side. So those are there are construction companies that manage the interaction between owners and contractors and designers. So those would be a great fit. We also get more like the residential side. There is a lot of overlap, and a lot of the companies that do something called design build. So for those that don't know the term, is when a partnership between a design and a construction company usually works together. So those more collaborative environments are perfect for our DCI majors. And some of the, internships that I know our students have had involve anywhere from actually being on site and working as a project engineer on site to working more on the modeling side, but also estimating, also even in design, because for design and construction integration, if they want to explore and we kind of let them explore more on the design side, that would be a great fit as well.
Thank you so much. Clark, can you also touch on internships and jobs in building information modeling majors?
Well, I'm just going to build upon what Brian and Luciana said. Of course, our students, the BIM students, get jobs in every aspect of what they just said. Mine branched out into a little bit more because I've had several go into architectural firms to do the marketing side. The renderings you saw of the Haviland Hall, original Haviland Hall, is what this individual wanted to do, and she got a job with an architectural firm. The interesting part is the construction industry has adopted the modeling a lot earlier than the architects. So they're sort of playing catch up right now in the fact that they don't know how to model. So they're hiring our students to come in and train the architects how to create the models, utilize the models, and to be informative to everyone, basically. Not only the architect side, but the manufacturing side. I've had several students. I know one got a job with Train Heating and Cooling. They build, furnaces and air handling units. But what this individual wanted was the person to come in and model the building that their air handling units were going to be put into, so that they could do actual testing to see if the actual air handling unit would supply enough heating and cooling for that building. So it's interesting. Like as Brian said, if you can think of it, they're going to get a job in just about anything. I've actually had a couple of construction professionals ask me if I have students that know gaming and animation, because currently they're doing a lot of game simulations to help train people on site. So now computer graphics students that have a gaming background or an animation background are getting jobs in construction in order to help, train, help visualize things, that sort of aspect. So literally the sky's the limit. We got students that do web development. Companies use the web to actually manage projects. So web developers, UX people, they're all getting jobs with construction companies in different aspects. So we also do the project management. We do the design build side of things. So they're out there. I can't supply enough students to fulfill all the needs of industry that want BIM students right now.
Thank you so much. Well, it's nearly time to wrap up our broadcast, but before we go, I'd like to ask each of you to share advice to our future students. Danielle, you go first. What should students do to be successful at Purdue?
Students should go to class. Sounds so obvious, right? But your schedule is going to be so different from from high school, and you don't have mom and dad making sure you get out of bed. So you may have a 7:30 class, and then you may not have another class until 10:30, and you may not have another class until 4:30. So having the motivation to go to class, don't go back home and go to sleep and sleep through your class, go to your classes, ask questions. Studying is going to be a very big part of your life that may have never been a part of your life in high school, and you're going to have to learn how to study.
Clark?
I tell mine about the same thing. A, attend class, but B, get to know your instructors. You have to know, eventually you're going to have a job where you have a boss. You have to get to know them as well. You have to get to know the colleagues that you're going to be working with. So get to know students around you. Don't think that you can do an entire education on your own. You have to get help for that. Get as much as possible out of it. I know we have summer study abroad programs where they get to go to Ireland and visit job sites and see how they do construction over there. So if I was give them any advice, make the most of the time you have here, because once you get out, it's all work.
Yes, it is. Luciana.
Sure. For me, I think the good ones were taken, so I'm gonna add something to the list, which is ask questions. Don't be afraid of asking questions. We're here to help, and sometimes students have really good questions that makes us think, and you know, we can really engage in a good discussion dialogue. So I have some students that really did really great in high school, and when they come, they realize, you know, everybody's great and they have to step up, and they don't know how to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. We have resources to help you. The instructors are here to help you. Just, you gotta ask.
That is great advice. Mark?
I'm going to emphasize what Luciana said. I know it's not an original thought, but that ask for help. Paige mentioned it earlier, right? We like to use a lot of undergraduate TAs in our classes, which is a little different, right? They're not graduate students, they're undergraduate students. So they may only be a year or two older than you, but they excelled in the course. For instance, in a first year student course, 150, we offer 50 to 60 hours outside of class time with the faculty and with the undergraduate TAs. All you have to do is ask for the help or show up to a BCM mentor session, which is older students that are going to help mentor you through a homework or help you prep for an exam or whatever it might be. We're there. Another example, I know many of the faculty, you know, we give the students our cell phone numbers. We have office hours and they can email us and do those kind of things. But the students can also reach out to me. You know, I take calls on the weekend or text messages on the weekend. We're here to help our students, and we want to see them succeed. You just need to know that the resources are there. We can't make you ask for the help, but we don't expect you to know everything when you show up, right? We've heard from two students that had an interest in this, but didn't have you know, they didn't grow up in construction, but yet they're successful because they took advantage of the resources that are there. They worked hard. They did their internships. So everything is here to make you successful. Just take advantage of the tools that we provided.
Awesome. Brian?
Well, as noted, many of the good ones have been taken, but I want to take a little different tact on this. And I would say in your free time, really look to do something to give back to the community. You know, our students are so good at this. So I noticed one of our students is participating in Habitat for Humanity. And you know, that's a very large thing to help build a home, but there's a lot of little things that you can do just to help people out. We're giving you the skills to build and, you know, make people's lives better. So helping out, building out a ramp for, you know, maybe an elderly person, or, you know, another set of kennels for, you know, our local Humane Society here. You know, so all of those different things. And I think that's very fulfilling. And I see so many of our alums on LinkedIn talking about the cool things they are doing to give back to the community. You got a lot of special gifts and just helping people out. So that's what I would look for, doing something in your spare time when you're here.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm glad you brought that up because my hat was part of a fundraiser from Women in Construction. So a big shout out to them. I know our students are part of that organization. And for our current students, you have different levels of experience as college students. So that means that you're older and you're wiser than many of our viewers. What advice do you give to our future students? Paige, let's start with you.
One of my biggest pieces of advice would to be get to know the people in your major. You don't necessarily have to be best friends with them, but you're probably going to be with them for your next 4 years, as well as your advisors and your faculty and staff. You're going to rely on them heavily throughout your 4 years. And besides academics, I feel like another big piece of advice would to be put yourself first. It can be very easy to get caught up in exams and homework and forget about what you need and what you want. So I think it's really important to just take a step back and look at what you need and just to put yourself first because you know yourself best.
Thank you so much. Kassidy, you get the last word. What advice would you like to share?
Take everything in. Take all of the opportunities you can. Purdue has everything you could possibly want, from your studies to sports to clubs. and everyone tells you the time goes quick. So I can attest to that. Take advantage of everything here.
Okay, thank you everyone. And that concludes our discussion tonight. Thanks again to all of you for watching and submitting your questions. And we hope you learned something new about the School of Construction Management Technology at Purdue. Thank you again to all of our panelists for joining us and sharing your wisdom and experience. And if you joined us late, be sure to watch the replay because we talked with even more professors during this whole time. Thanks as well, John, to our technical director for all the behind the scenes work. As I mentioned before, please feel free to send an email to techrecruit@purdue.edu. If you have any additional questions for us about construction management technology or Purdue University, please make sure that you send us those emails. We hope you will join us for one or more of the upcoming Admitted Student Days Purdue's for Me, which is an opportunity to visit campus with your family. There are also many online information sessions and student-to-student chats. You can find more information for these opportunities on our Admitted Students information page. You might like to see one or more of our other YouTube broadcasts. Coming up on April 12th, a YouTube broadcast will focus on student life at Purdue for all students admitted to Purdue Polytechnic. We also have replays focusing on women in technology and diversity in Polytechnic. All the broadcasts are listed online at polytechnic.purdue.edu/live. Just a quick reminder that deadlines to accept your offer of admission is May 1st. It's coming up fast. Thanks again for being here tonight. Have a great evening and boiler up!